Hello everybody and welcome back to Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane. I'm still sick, but I'm getting better. My throat isn't as sore, so... Well, it isn't really sore at all. Might have to clear it every now and then. So, let's investigate. Let's investigate. Miriam, there you are. Where have you been? I've been speaking to Father's attorneys. His estate is in absolute chaos. Do you really need to do that? I'm sure they have it under control. These vultures are practically salivating over Father's death. The will hasn't even been read, yet I can barely keep these cretins from robbing us blind. Oh, I see. You were quiet at the funeral this morning. Are you okay? Of course I am. Miriam, I know things are chaotic now, but we'll get through this together. Beatrice has finally returned. Maybe now we can... Why do you think she returned? What? She was clearly doing quite well for herself. She could have come back at any time. The very night she returns, Father ends up with a knife in his throat. How can you say that? Weren't you trying to protect her at the trial yesterday? Don't tell me you actually believe she did this. Her attorney is Ruby Timor, I believe. Even you can put together what that means. No, I know her. She would never do this. You know her? Leave, she's a completely different person. She might as well be a stranger to us. How can you say that? You adored her so much. I did, Leaf, but things have obviously changed. Everything changed after she abandoned us. The only difference is that I'm not going to fall apart over it like some sad, mournful child. Miriam, I just wanted us to be a family again. Well, you're going to be sorely disappointed, just like you always are. You always lived in a land of fairy tales. Then act like the victim when reality fails to live up to that. I don't do that! Wake up, Leaf. She's not here for us. She's here for Father's money. Now, if you're done weeping over the absolute disaster that is our family, I need to think about what all this means for my future. I suggest you do the same. What do I do? For the first time since the Lord's Ball, I was finally able to get some sleep. I woke up in the morning refreshed, but also a little anxious about the results of the will reading. We arrived back at Frege Manor. Beatrice, Leaf, Miriam, and Von Sanctus had all been gathered, along with Miss Timora, who was accompanying Beatrice as her attorney. I wasn't really sure what to say to her after everything that had happened. The air still felt too awkward to approach her and talk about it. I thought that said executioner. I was very confused for a minute. Thank you all for coming here today. Actually, no, I'm gonna make him southern. As William Frege's close associate, I must express my deepest condolences for your loss. I think I speak for all of Wyvern Guard when I say, enough, just get on with it. Very well, then. To get straight to the point, the Duke's will was magically sealed when it was given to me. He asked me, his executor, not to submit it to the courts for probate until after his death. Although I imagine none of us expected such a time to come so suddenly. Is that allowed? Can you do that? The attorney opened the sealed envelope and quickly scanned over the will. The Duke's assets included sole ownership of several banking houses throughout Wyvern Guard, the equivalent of 10 million gold in various investments. 10 million? 10 million gold? I couldn't even begin to imagine what anyone could do with that amount of wealth. And lastly, sole control and ownership of the Frege noble house. I, William Frege, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament. I hereby give, devise, and bequeath all of my assets and property, both real and personal, to Jaden Von Sanctus, provided that he enters into a legal and binding engagement with my daughter, Lee Frege, within 6 months of the date of my death. What? That's... William must have added that addendum to prevent Von Sanctus from trying to steal his empire. But that legal and binding engagement was predicated on Leaf accepting it. She clearly didn't want to go through with it, so if she simply waited 6 months, Von Sanctus wouldn't have any claim to the estate. In the event that Jane Von Sanctus does not enter into such an engagement within the specified time frame, my assets and property shall be distributed as such. All of House Frege will be divided equally among my children, as per the laws of our kingdom. I was right. William Frege never disinherited Beatrice. And since Beatrice would receive a portion of William's inheritance, she had a motive to commit the murder. I glanced at Miriam. It was hard to read her expression, but something appeared to be on her mind. Without a word, she walked out of the room, ignoring both Beatrice and Leaf. Leaf, on the other hand, seemed to be in good spirits. Isn't this great, Beatrice? You can lead House Frege now, just as it should have been. Regarding that and that of recent events, I believe I should clarify one thing. As per the Slayer rule, if Beatrice Frege is found guilty in the current court case, her inheritance will be revoked and divided between you and your sister. I see. I shouldn't feel so happy for myself. That can't be all, can it? Surely William added a note of Leaf's obligation to marry my son. I'm not sure what you're trying to imply. That's blatantly illegal. That is blatantly a felony. Leaf Frege is an adult with legal autonomy. She is free to make whatever decision she wishes about who she legally marries. Now, if you'll excuse me. Wait, we're not finished yet. Come back here. I'd love to catch up with you, Leaf, but I was only allowed out of my cell to attend the reading. I noticed an Inquisition Knight outside the door. He seemed to be watching Beatrice intently. But don't worry. I'm sure once this misunderstanding is resolved, we can talk all we want about our family's future. Of course! A group of knights led Beatrice out of the manor, and Leaf followed after them, leaving Celeste and me alone with Miss Timora. So, nice weather we're having. About what happened. Look, I'm not angry, Cuthbert. Oh, it was an extremely unforeseen situation, and Steelwind couldn't clearly put you on the spot. You felt pressure to do something, and you made a rash decision. I'm sure the court will understand if you withdraw. What? Cuthbert, you're not a prosecutor. You know that, right? Didn't you become an attorney to defend persecuted mages? But Beatrice is guilty. I saw it. I'm not going to argue about this again. You are going to withdraw. This is not up for discussion. You can't do that. That's not how this works. I'd always regarded and respected Miss Timora. She never steered me wrong before. Maybe she was right. Maybe she knows more about what's going on than I did. And she was still my mentor. I wanted to believe that. I really did. But deep down, I knew that this was wrong. Miss Timora may believe in Beatrice's innocence, but I couldn't just abandon this case and let her escape justice. My hands were trembling. Why was I so scared right now? I felt Celeste gently hold my shaking hand from behind me. It was warm and comforting. It was that same sensation that I'd felt back then. I took a deep breath. I'm not going to do that, Miss Timora. What? I'm not going to withdraw. If you believe in Beatrice's innocence, and if you truly believe that you're on the right side, then prove it by beating me. Fine. Do whatever you want, but you're only going to make everything more difficult for everyone. Tyrion! As soon as Miss Timora stepped out of the room, my body dropped to the floor. Whatever bravery I felt before got replaced with an extreme amount of fatigue. Skilled Lord. That's the first time I've ever spoken to her like that. But you still did it. You stood your ground. Figuratively, I mean. Right now, you're just kind of sitting on the floor. Yeah, I need to take a moment. Can we go back to the ballroom? Hey, so, I didn't want to interrupt whatever that was. Just follow us. My god. Just follow us to the ballroom, or We all returned to the ballroom. You okay? Yeah, I just needed a moment. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I still had a job to do. The will reading brought us a few more hours to investigate the murder. We should take advantage of the new information we just learned. So, where should we start first? Right. I was the prosecutor now. That technically made me his boss for the time being. This is weird, right? Yep. Awkwardness aside, I've never really led a task force before. What would Steelwind normally do in this situation? Well, she'd normally have us investigate areas of interest. Right. The context of the investigation tends to change after each round of court proceedings. What we're lacking right now is physical evidence. Could you and the Inquisition search the gallery in Beatrice's room? Maybe you can find evidence of how the sword of spell eating was stolen. Whatever you say, boss. That covers the Inquisition, but what are we going to do? The Duke's inheritance plays a large role in this case. Even if it's not valid, we should take a look at the modified will that he was drafting. It might give us some insight about what he was really planning to do with his inheritance. I just can't wrap my head around it. I know he wasn't the best dad, but I can't believe she actually killed him. I can. And for what? Wealth and power? That's just how the aristocracy works. Even the weakest noble has a large amount of political power. Sometimes I feel lucky that I grew up in Cornhaven. Where should we go next? William retreated into his study to draft a new will. Even if it's not valid, we should try to look for it there. It might give us some insight into the headspace he was in that night. Come on, where is it? As we entered William Frega's study, we spotted a small figure rifling through the drawers of his desk. Why isn't it here? Where else would he put it? Miriam? What? She banged her head on before she quickly stood up. She tried to subtly slide the drawers closed, but I'd seen it clearly. This is a crime scene. What are you doing here, Miriam? As if that's any of your business. Considering that I'm the prosecutor, it's very much my business. I glanced at the knights stationed outside the room. They should have stopped her from entering, but they were probably intimidated by her status. However, this could be a blessing in disguise. She was clearly looking for something in this room, and I had a feeling that I knew what it was. Hey, guess what? I should have known you were an attorney when you showed it to me back at the academy. Yeah, you almost blew our cover, Tyrion. It's a habit. I think you'd be so enamored with such a mundane piece of artificery. Hey, fuck you. What could be so important that you disturb an active crime scene? We have so much fucking evidence here. It's none of your concern. I'm merely trying to find something that belongs to me. Really? Because I have a feeling that we might be looking for the same thing. You're looking for the will that your father was drafting, aren't you? That's... Were you trying to destroy it before we could get to it? No, of course not. I just needed to see it for myself. Did she really do this? Why are you so determined to see the drafted will, Miriam? I just wanted to see what my father's final wishes were. But your father already had a will filed previously. Wouldn't that be enough? You also suspect something, don't you? Of course not! Beatrice would never do something like that. Miss Frege, I never even mentioned Beatrice. I know we're not on the best terms, but please understand that we're just trying to get to the truth. I don't think your sister did this, but she may have been involved. She may have worked with someone else to orchestrate her father's death. Unlike Leaf, she didn't immediately deny it. Where is the will, Miriam? I need to see it. I don't know. I haven't been able to find it. I recall that she was frantically searching William's desk earlier. She was probably telling the truth. It should have been there, but I can't find it. He locked the door when he began drafting it. In addition to that, the Inquisition closed the area off after the body was discovered. That means that someone took it during the lockdown. Obtained evidence. William's modified will. On the night of the murder, William Frege retreated into his study to modify his will. He died before this will could be submitted, so it's not valid. The draft was supposedly stolen during lockdown. It's likely that the murderer took and or destroyed it. It was probably stolen... What the fuck, man? It was probably stolen by whoever murdered him, right? Yeah, that would make the most sense. Which means that whoever did this wanted to nullify whatever was written on it. It was looking more and more like the motive behind this was William's inheritance. Anyways, it looks like we won't be able to find the will. But the fact that it was taken must imply something. For now, we should follow our other leads. We still don't know who committed the murder and how. Don't we already know the how? The murderer stole the sword of spell eating and used it to break into the study. That's true, but think about how they would have needed to move around the manor. The murder took place on the first floor, within William Frege's study. But the gallery was on the second floor. They would have needed to go upstairs, steal the sword from the gallery, and then use it to nullify the lock in the study. Not only that, they would have needed to go back upstairs and plant the sword in Beatrice's room. About that, if someone conspired with Beatrice to do this, why would they plant the sword in her room? That's a good point. Maybe they had a falling out. Her partner might have tried to betray her by pinning the blame on her. But if that was true, why wouldn't she just sell them out and make a deal with Steelwind? It would be because of the Slayer rule. Slayer rule? I remember the guy at the will reading also mentioned that. What does that mean? It was a law passed by the Crown centuries ago. If someone is involved in another person's death, even accidentally, they will not be allowed to inherit the deceased's property. So even if Beatrice wasn't directly responsible, she'd lose her cut of the inheritance if she took a plea deal. More importantly, It didn't sound like Miriam believed in Beatrice's innocence either. If that was true, what else could she tell us? Miriam, it sounds like you suspect Beatrice as well. That's... Am I correct? Am I incorrect? I don't know what to think anymore. Why else would she threaten me? Wait, she was threatened? Miriam. Did Beatrice threaten you in some way? What? Of course not! Your testimony yesterday was quite convenient for the defense. It almost got the whole case thrown out. And Leaf didn't seem to understand what was going on either. With the way she gave her testimony, it was almost like she was covering for you. Does he seriously not know? Please, promise me that you won't tell anyone about this. I won't tell anyone. What happened? About an hour after the murder, I was approached by Ruby Taimora. She gave me a list of statements to give in my testimony. The statements weren't true, but she assured me that my status would protect me from any scrutiny. What? She had information that I had tried to keep secret, and she threatened to make it public unless I cooperated with her. No, she would never do that! I'm telling you the truth. Please, you can't tell Taimora that I told you. She'll ruin me. The eye showed that her fear was genuine. She wasn't lying. I've seen how she defends her clients. Forgery, bribery, blackmail. She'll do whatever it takes to win. It doesn't matter what you say. I know you're just like her. Those rumors. Were they really true this whole time? No, absolutely not. Hey, Tyrion, are you okay? Now wasn't the time to doubt myself. There was way too much at stake right now, and I wasn't done yet. Would you check on Commander White? He might have found something. Okay. Just don't push yourself, okay? Yeah. I'd have plenty of time to think about this later. Travel, ballroom, nobody... As we moved around the manor, I peeked into the sitting room to see if Von Sanctus was still there. I didn't see him there, but I spotted the Grand General. This aura, an enemy, here? You must be daft to think that I wouldn't notice your presence, Luminite. What? Did he notice us? I was barely inside the room. Before I had a chance to respond, Lucio grabbed the handle of his great axe and charged toward us. He swung his weapon, using its hefty weight to propel him forward and close the distance between us. Wait, I brought up my arms to block his blow, but in hindsight, that probably wouldn't have done much against a weapon that large. Protagus! I opened my eyes. Celsa was now standing between me and the Grand General. I'm not sure what happened, but it looked like she'd knock him several feet back. Oh, it's you two. That's all you have to say? You could have killed him! You shouldn't have snuck up on me like that. I almost cleaved him in two. Tyrion didn't do anything wrong. Who the hell do you think you are? What happened? Why is his aura so much stronger? Celeste, it's fine. I'm not hurt. She looked around. She looked more than a little irate right now, but she begrudgingly put away her sword. The Grand General was one of the people with a motive to murder William Frege. Not to mention that he was clearly no stranger to violence. He might know something. At the very least, he might have some knowledge about William and his affairs. I'm a lawyer. It's an attorney's runestone. It proves that I'm a certified attorney. I don't understand what you want from me. If looks could kill. McCoy, one might misinterpret that look of yours as murderous intent. I guess you do have some battle instincts after all. I honestly wasn't sure, since you so obviously have a silver spoon stuck up your... Celeste! Such a lack of respect and discipline. If you're one of my soldiers, I'd have you hung. If I were one of your soldiers, I'd hang myself. Anyways, Grand General, you were here at the Lord's Ball when the murder occurred. I was. Do you mind if I ask you some questions about what you saw that night? If that's okay with you. You don't need to be scared of this guy, Tyrion. That was easy for her to say. I suppose I must oblige, considering that my daughter has so unceremoniously thrust her responsibilities onto you. I'm sorry about what happened to your daughter. I'm sure that you're very worried. It's her own fault for exerting herself despite her injuries. There's a clear line between bravery and foolishness. How can you say that? Your daughter did everything she could to see justice done. By prosecuting the heiress of House Frege, she had very little evidence to substantiate a conviction. If she wanted to strike a blow to a rival house, she should have made sure her first attack would be her last. But now, if Beatrice is found innocent, any hopes of an alliance between House Frege and House Steelwind will be completely annihilated. Where were you throughout the night, Grand General? I so loathe gatherings like that, and I couldn't do with all the badgering about the recent news. I was in this room, but then I received word that the Duke's lost heiress made an unexpected appearance. She was supposedly speaking with the Crown Prince, so I made my way to the ballroom. Did you speak with them at any point? No, I kept my distance and stayed near the King's Guard. I needed to make sure she wouldn't try anything. Was this because you were wary of Beatrice Frege? Anyone who knew Beatrice Frege would be very wary of her, and her allegiance with Ruby Timor is only more concerning. The Crown Prince has always been a bleeding heart, and the Freges are taught to sharpen their tongues from birth. I needed to make sure that she wouldn't try to interfere with his engagement to my daughter. You were worried that she was going to try to take Aster back. I was, but it was clear that wasn't her intention. But you did overhear the conversation. What were they talking about? The conversation was completely inane. It was all just small talk. Lady Frege spent most of her time entertaining Prince Alaric. Right, the younger prince was there too. I knew that Beatrice had some role in the murder, even if she wasn't directly responsible. Did she have some goal when speaking to the two princes? Was she trying to establish an alibi? You went to the ballroom when you heard that Beatrice had returned. Was this before or after the lockdown? It was before the lockdown. That sounded about right. That meant that she was present before the theft was reported. And did you see her leave at any point? No. She spoke with the two princes for quite a while. But she didn't leave their side until she was arrested for the Duke's murder. So she was accounted for the entire night. Obtained evidence, Beatrice's alibi. Beatrice Frege was seen speaking with Aster D. Wyverngard and Alaric D. Wyverngard during the Lord's Ball. She spent the entire night speaking with them. She was also accounted for before the Sword of Spell Eating was reported missing. Lucio Steelwind, Aster, and several members of the King's Guard can confirm this. But her thoughts said that she was an accomplice in William's death. How did she participate if she was with the princes the whole time? Thank you for answering our questions, Grand General. I'm merely repaying my daughter's debts to you. He'd been surprisingly cooperative, but that didn't lift any suspicion off of him just yet. I would need to find more evidence if I wanted to know for sure. Anyways, we should probably move somewhere else. Let's go, Celeste. McCoy. What? Your spell casting is undisciplined, but your battle stance and reflexes are commendable. You have my respect as a warrior. As if that means anything coming from you. What an undisciplined and defiant brat. Is that all? Alright. There's just one other place to go to. Keep it in that corner. Don't let it get away. Get away from him! As we entered Beatrice's room, we saw the Inquisition cornering something near the bed. It was some sort of animal. A wolf, to be exact. Wait, is that... I remember spotting that same wolf on the night of the Lord's Ball. Has it been in the house since the murder? Intruders! Must protect Queen! I'm surrounded. Must protect territory from enemies! He must have seen the Inquisition as intruders in his territory. But did that mean he saw this room as his home? I slowly started to walk towards him. Wait, Tyrion! Stay back, kid. There's no telling what it'll do. I ignored them and continued to approach him. Don't worry, I'm not here to hurt you. Huh? This human. He can speak language of dog? It was the same thing that happened with Violetta. I could communicate with any animal. Why are you talking to it? There was a good opportunity before me. I had access to a witness that no one else could talk to. And one that couldn't lie to me. Hi. Look, Tracker, it's my Eternity's runestone. How do you know his name, Tyrion? Rock. It's fitted with artificery. I can use it to take pictures of evidence and crime scenes. Rock. Tracker. Is that your name? How did you... Yes, Tracker. Tracker is Tracker. That's the name Queen give to me. Tracker. Occupation dog. Age 3. The best boy. The bestest boy who ever bested a boy. Tracker gestured toward Leaf when he mentioned his queen. He called you his queen. Do you know him, Leaf? Yes, but how? How are you talking to it? That's... I was so distracted by Tracker that I didn't realize how strange this scene must look to everyone else. I'm a dog whisperer. You've never mentioned that before. Do you honestly expect us to believe something like that? But Tracker says he can understand him. He told me himself. Wait, how do you know that? I feel like a lot of the conversation topics in this game are name and name. So Leaf, how are you able to communicate with Tracker? Tracker's my familiar. Familiar? So you have the same magical bond Harold has with his monkey. Familial bond allowed the caster to telepathically speak with their familiar. That must be how she could understand him. You never mentioned him during questioning. It wasn't relevant to the investigation. And I've been keeping him a secret from my family. I suppose that makes sense. I doubt William Frege would have allowed you to keep an animal in his home. Well, I don't appreciate you keeping this info from us. I'm just glad no one got hurt because of it. Aside from this dog, we haven't really found anything new. We couldn't find any more physical evidence of the theft. It looked like we'd run into another dead end. Unless... Tracker, I saw you on the night of the murder. What? Tracker! Ruh-roh. Fuck-ass dog, I love him. He's supposed to stay in this room! Wait, is that why you won't allow the servants to enter it? I didn't want to keep him in Beatrice's room, but he was very insistent that he stay here. Tracker liked the ambience. Right. Wait, if you live in this room, did you see who brought the Sword of Spell Eating here? I already asked him about it, but he didn't see anyone. He must have been taking a nap. After that, he was roaming outside even though I told him to stay here. Tracker see a lot of other things, though. Tracker may see many new people that night. Right, he was roaming the manor during the Lord's Ball. Must have seen a lot of new people. Wait, if he was walking around, he might have seen something that the other witnesses didn't. Can you tell us what you saw on the night of the murder, Tracker? Tracker see rat people. This may be more difficult than I thought. I need you to be more specific. Can you go in order? Tell me about everyone that you saw that night. Okay. Tracker was taking a nap in room, but Tracker woke up from loud sounds outside. Tracker heard small things running in the walls. Running in the walls? Tracker called the queen, but she didn't answer, so Tracker decided to check sound alone. Tracker follows sound outside. That's when Tracker smelled a bad smell. Bad smell? That's when Tracker smelled flying rat. No, that's when Tracker smelled flying rat. You smelled a flying rat? Do you mean like a pigeon? Tracker could smell where rat was, so Tracker boarded him and bite. He tastes bad. Tracker must have scared rat, because he fell onto the floor and dropped his stick. The rat had a stick? Tracker could see them now, so Tracker did one final bork to scare them off. The rats were scared and went back into the walls. Went into the walls! That's when Tracker picked up the stick rat dropped. Queen finally answered Tracker. She told him to go back to his room and hide. After message, Tracker brings Stick back to room for inspection. Do you remember what time this encounter happened? What is time? Oh my god. What did he say, Tyrion? Did he see anything? Well, he definitely saw something. Okay, let's try to take a moment and work through this. Tracker is an animal. Despite being able to speak with him, his use of words is very primitive. So I should carefully examine each of his statements. The first thing he heard was small things running in the walls. What did Tracker hear when he woke up? I recall that... Okay. This case so far is the worst with using the you, the second person thing. That was in the original. I recall that someone else observed something similar that night.
What if...
I don't know. It was either Beatrice or Harold. I'm gonna say Harold.
Maybe.
The Tracker heard small things running in the walls. In the context of everything that happened that night, he must have been talking about something specific. Did someone else mention hearing the same thing? Something in the vents.
Maybe.
The servants were complaining about rats running through the ear vents, so they sent me to take care of it. I heard one of them running in the vents upstairs and I followed it here. I figured it had nowhere else to go, so I opened it up and put a trap down. You must have heard the rats that Jan mentioned. Okay, I wish instead of Tracker it was Jan. They weren't actually running in the walls, they were running in the vents. Next thing he did was call the Queen, but she didn't answer. I didn't leave answer Tracker's message. He was referring to Leaf, but she wasn't with him at the time. He must have called out to her telepathically. Leaf was distracted? No. The familial bond was nullified by the anti-magic field. Leaf didn't respond because she never got Tracker's message. The telepathic capabilities granted by familial bond were disabled by the anti-magic field, which meant that this encounter happened during the lockdown. So that covered the first two statements, but I wasn't really sure what to make of the flying rat he saw. Tracker, why did you refer to the rat as flying? Because rats don't usually jump and fly. Yes, I get that. Is it possible that what you saw wasn't really a rat? Rats are rats. They're small things that run and hide. So rat is a general term for him. He uses it to refer to small animals that are acting suspiciously. Anyways, with everything I knew, his last statement didn't make any sense. Why did Tracker finally hear Leaf? He said that the Queen finally answered him, and this happened after he picked up the stick. But that shouldn't have been possible due to the anti-magic field.
What if
The stick that Tracker obtained was actually the Sword of Spell Eating. Tracker, about that stick you found. Where did you put it after you came back to this room? Tracker hid stick in safe place under the bed. And the stick. Did it look like the sword that my friend is carrying? What? Hey, your friend stole my other stick. Wait, your other stick? Yeah, Tracker found it while she was hiding from the metal. They found it while he was hiding from the Metal Man. Metal Man? Is he referring to the King's Guard? He must have left the bedroom when they were searching for the Sword of Spell Eating. Wait, are you the one who stole Celeste's sword? Tracker! Did Tracker do it bad? It's as I suspected. Tracker was the one who brought the Sword of Spell Eating here. What? I have no idea how or why, but the Sword of Spell Eating was flying in a hallway somewhere. Tracker found it and brought it back to Beatrice's room. His room. That can't be. So the person who framed Beatrice for the theft was... If it weren't for Tracker, the Inquisition would have never honed in on Beatrice at all. But why would the Sword of Spell Eating be lying in a random hallway? Leaf, do you mind if I borrow Tracker for a little bit? It's okay, Queen. He smells good. Tracker, trust him. Thanks, I guess. Okay, but only if I can come with you. Okay. I knew Miriam's position, but how did Leaf feel about me prosecuting her sister? I nodded to Leaf, but I also sensed a subtle gesture to Celeste to keep an eye on her. She silently nodded and slowly followed behind her. Alright, Tracker. Can you take us to the hallway where you found these rats? Sure thing, King. Oh. It sounded like I'd received a promotion. No more? Okay. Oh. We're in Beatrice's room. Okay. I allowed Tracker to lead me to the location where he found the Sword of Spell Eating. Surprisingly, it was fairly close to Beatrice's room. He apparently didn't travel very far before he met those rats he mentioned. As we continued towards our destination, Tracker suddenly became extremely tense. Tracker, what's wrong? Enemy. He was growling towards the end of the hallway. Aster was there, so was Eris. How did she even get access to Frega Manor? Oh! Before we even had a chance to react, Tracker jumped between Eris and me. Began barking at her angrily. Oh dear. Tracker, stop that! Leaf tried to calm Tracker down, but he was undeterred. He continued to bark at Eris. It looked like he was taking all of Leaf's... It was taking all of Leaf's strength to hold him back. Aster, My apologies, Mr. Cuthbert. I'm deathly afraid of dogs. I understand why you're... I have to go. Before I could get a word in, Aster quickly excused himself and ran down the hallway. I'm terribly sorry. He's not usually like this. It's to be expected. I'm not sure why, but animals have always seen me for what but animals have always disliked me. Why'd you do that for your own words? Seems needlessly risky. What was Eris doing here? She said that her father was friends with Beatrice, but was she involved in this case somehow? I guess it didn't matter. I didn't come here to talk to anyone. I needed to examine this hallway and search for clues. Ah, of course. I see that old habits die hard. Sorry, am I being obnoxious with this thing? Not at all. I'd be more disappointed if you didn't try to show me the badge. It's a runestone. It's a badge, of course. What are you doing here, Eris? I should be asking you the same thing. I recall you telling me that you were a defense attorney. Yet here you are, prosecuting a defendant. You're even leading the Inquisition that you supposedly hated so much. But to answer your question, I'm here on behalf of Beatrice. My sister? Yes, Timora is occupied handling other aspects of the case. So she sent me here to investigate on her behalf. What? I'm surprised she trusted you to handle something so important. How do you two even know each other? You said she was acquainted with your father, but... we met during her days at the Imperial Academy. What? We both studied illusion magic together. Huh? I've always been a patron of hers. When my position would be sad to see her in this dreadful situation. Oh, Beatrice. But that still doesn't make much sense. Because why aren't you telling me anybody's ages? Because Beatrice is in her 20s. And where are you? You're not here, but she's 16. These crystals supposedly generate an anti-magic field during lockdown. However, a sort of spell eating would make its wielder immune to these fields. There's an air vent over here. It looks like it goes from the ceiling to the ground floor. Is this where that rat escaped to, Tracker? That's where the jumping rat went. I thought you'd said it was a flying rat. Tracker sees that too. It would probably be better to just move on. Anyways, where did this rat come from? Rat came from the other wall. They just flipped it. Do you mean the vent on the opposite side? Yes, Tracker saw flying rat escape that way. What was this rat doing here in the first place?
Arcanum.
There's an air vent over here. It looks like it goes missing around. It's where the rat escapes. What?
Arcanum.
What? What do you see? I'm seeing small traces of illusion magic inside them. They're in the shape of droplets, and some of them are shaped like footprints. Footprints? What kind of footprints? They look like they came from some kind of animal. It's hard to tell what kind, though. I also see some small handprints, too. What? The traces also go deep inside these vents. It's the same for the vents on the other side too. Why would there be traces of illusion magic inside the vents? What spell could have possibly left those traces? As I told you many months ago, illusion spells tend to do one of two things. They either create freestanding illusions or they can disguise an existing creature. Spells only leave traces on the objects they are cast on. A freestanding illusion wouldn't leave traces like this. A disguised creature must have been inside these vents at some point. These small red droplets have to be blood, most likely from a creature affected by an illusion. But these vents are tiny. No one would be able to fit inside them. Tracker could see them now, so Tracker did one final bork to scare them off. The rats were scared and went back into the walls. But a rat would be able to fit in these vents. Well, yeah, I guess that'd be true. But that would mean that a rat had an illusion spell active on it at the time. It's not only that. He said that the queen finally answered him, and this happened after he picked up a stick. Why was it strange for Tracker to hear Leaf's voice? But that contradicted something else that we knew was active at the time. Anti-magic field was active throughout. But why shouldn't that have been possible? But that shouldn't have been possible because of the anti-magic field. Tracker saw this rat during the lockdown. They would have been inside the anti-magic field. They would have been inside the anti-magic field created by the lockdown. How could the rat be invisible during lockdown? There can only be in one way that the rat could have an illusion spell active on it. Wait, you can't mean the rat was holding the Sword of Spell Eating. The rat was holding the Sword of Spell Eating. Obtained evidence. Tracker's testimony. On the night of the murder, Tracker smelled something strange and followed the scent of the hallway north of Beatrice's room. There he saw a flying rat come out of the northern air vent. Tracker barked at this rat and scared it away. When this happened, Rat supposedly dropped the Sword of Spell Eating. Tracker took the sword and brought it back to Beatrice's room. What? That can't be right! The rat wouldn't have the strength or hands to carry a sword. Tracker's vocabulary is primitive and limited. He uses the word rat to describe small creatures that hide and act suspiciously. But even if it wasn't an actual rat, it still couldn't have been a human, right? You're right. It would have been a small animal. A small animal with the strength and dexterity to traverse a small air vent while holding a sword. Sorry, but I really have to ask. Is that a monkey riding on your back? Yes, this is my familiar, Eugene. No, are you serious? We know that Harold had a motive to kill William Frege. He was planning to defund the Heraldson Hall of History. They had an argument that night, and that's when William Frege decided that he was going to defund Harold's museums. He must have struck a deal with Beatrice, and with Beatrice's portion of House Frege, she could have easily kept his museums funded. He could have faked the robbery and sent his familiar to murder William. I can't believe this. There's something else that Tracker said. Tracker could smell where Rat was, so Tracker borked at him. Tracker must have scared Rat, because he fell onto the floor and dropped his stick. The rat had a stick? Tracker, you said that you had to smell to see where the rat was. And when he dropped his stick, you were finally able to see him. Does that mean you could visually see him before he fell down? Yep, Tracker couldn't see the rat with his eyes, so Tracker used his nose to see it. The monkey was invisible? No one would have noticed a small, invisible animal. In addition to that, he could move through the air vents. Eugene would have been nearly undetectable that night. Beatrice is a master of illusion. It's possible that she cast invisibility on Eugene. Obtained evidence. Invisibility. One of the highest forms of illusion magic. The spell makes the target creature or object completely invisible. While invisible, the target will be completely transparent and undetectable visually. If targeting a creature, this spell will also affect anything that the creature is wearing or holding. And then there's the position of this air vent. We're currently in the hallway just north of Beatrice's room, and this air vent connects to the ground floor. If we align the two floor maps together, this vent must lead to the storage room. Right, the air vent there curves upwards. That must be where it leads. And according to Jan, that air vent led directly to William's study. Would have been the perfect route to enter William's study and leave undetected. But wouldn't he have needed to nullify the lock to enter that room? Why would he need to use the Sword of Spell Eating at all? Because of familial bond. They could telepathically communicate with each other. Harold probably needed Eugene to hold the sword so he could tell him exactly where to go. The sword's magic affects anyone magically connected to the wielder, and familial bond connects them magically. It makes sense now. Harold could have easily faked the robbery to take suspicion off of him. It's even possible that he was lying about how the display was shattered. But I've known Lord Haraldson for many years. I just can't believe that he'd be involved in this. She may have known Harold for a long time, but she's never read his thoughts. His thoughts could be very hostile and rude despite his kind expression. He was very good at hiding what he was truly feeling. And Beatrice, there's no way she'd participate in a plan. And Beatrice, there's no way she'd participate in a plan like this. Look, Leaf, I know you don't want to suspect your sister, but Beatrice would never trust anyone to work together like this. She's completely blind. She wouldn't have had much of a choice. She's not the type of person to trust her accomplices to stay quiet. She wouldn't leave a loose end open like that. But there's no way she could be working alone in their condition. And you can't think of any other way, and I can't think of any other way she'd be involved in this. Anyways, we're finished here, aren't we? Yes, thank you for lending Tracker to us, Leaf. I only want to help you. To find out what really happened. And my sister is innocent. I hope once you find out the truth, you'll see that. I guess we'll have to see. Now, if you'll excuse me. So, that's it, right? We finally know who really committed the murder. And if we could get Harold to confess on the stand, he might reveal Beatrice's involvement in all this. If he did that, I might be able to convince her and Miss Timora to take a plea deal. Although, knowing Miss Timora, that would be easier said than done. Anyways, this is definitely the lead we've been looking for. But is it really enough? We still don't have any physical evidence. It'll have to do for now. We're running out of time. We'll just have to call Harold. We'll just have to call Harold to the stand and see about what he did that, and to stand to testify about what he did that. We'll just have to call Harold to the stand to testify about what he did that night. If I can push him far enough, I might be able to catch him lying. And I doubt it would be that easy. He clearly had a good poker face. Just how much would he be able to hide his true thoughts? I already gave my statement to the Inquisition. Is my testimony really necessary? Sorry, old-timer. Orders came straight from the prosecutor. We're going to need you on the stand today. I see. I'll do what I can to help. Monkey with the glasses. Well, that's the end of this, I guess. So, yeah. I'll see you all next time when we go to trial and try to indict Harold and his monkey. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!